Tingo sinna ish beya ashla na lego azago DJ na shtoy do ashchad yegishta.
Hey,
Eyes on Kazuhira.
a message from the parasites.
Et hello YouTube. Et hello sur le chat aussi évidemment. On se retrouve pour la 16e VOD de Metal Gear Solid 5. On a commencé avec une petite cinématique vite fait avec Talker. Il nous dit de nous méfier de Kazuhira Miller. Donc notre second. Je demande un peu pourquoi.
Roger.
De toute façon, j'espère que vous allez bien. Pour cette fin de week-end. Aïe aïe aïe, ça passe vraiment beaucoup trop vite. Hein. Beaucoup trop vite. Devil Gecko. Donc normalement on n'a toujours pas de quête principale à faire. Donc on va continuer les secondaires. Simplement. En attendant qu'on débloque les dernières missions.
Please select a mission.
Alors, encore une extraction, est-ce qu'on ferait pas un peu autre chose? Les marionnettes? Ah ok. On va déjà commencer par ça.
Please select a landing zone. Heading to Afghanistan. Deploying.
44. Ah vache.
Well, Doctor, I have the report on the incident at the quarantine facility. Assuming the vocal cord parasite underwent a mutation. The only plausible explanations are exposure to some high-concentration mutagen, radiation. As you know, some of the staff at the quarantine facility were infected with the parasites. The Wolbachia prevented them from copulating, but the parasites themselves can't be removed from their host's vocal cords. Once you're infected with Skullface's parting gift, you're stuck with it. The researchers regularly used X-ray equipment to monitor the parasites in their throats. No problem there, they kept a close eye on the radiation doses. But that equipment didn't just give off X-rays. It was also emitting beta rays, even though that's unnecessary for the scans. See, beta rays have far worse effects on DNA than X-rays, meaning the only logical conclusion is that someone added in a beta ray emitter to trigger a mutation. Those beta rays leaked out from inside the equipment. Because the emitter was retrofitted, the shielding was inadequate. And the person who ordered and inspected the equipment was you, Doctor. That makes you the only person with the opportunity to install that emitter.
So now you're saying I sabotaged medical equipment for some wild plan to make the vocal cord parasite kill everyone?
Or maybe you thought it'd reveal a way to treat the parasite without using the Wolbachia. With that much to barter, I suppose some people would welcome even a pathetic cur like you.
Just stop it!
You'd have no shortage of buyers, but most would be happy with just the parasite. You wouldn't need to offer anything else. However, if that buyer already knew about the parasite, they'd also know that by itself, it's no longer the target bargaining chip it once was. To sell to that buyer, you need to throw in a bonus, a way to one-up it. There's only one buyer who'd be after that.
Emmerich, we record all communications on Mother Base. That includes radio transmissions to and from homemade devices.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
In America, a private biotech company, a client of which is DARPA, and they are connected to Cypher. You made a deal with Cypher. You offered them a new parasite in exchange for your safety. This is the only place in the world where the vocal cord parasite still exists. And you used it as a testing ground, tried to resurrect their bioweapon. But your plan to obtain the parasite has failed. Your bullshit ends now. And don't think you're leaving here alive.
Ce qui est bien avec le trou de verre, c'est qu'en plus d'être beaucoup plus rapide, c'est beaucoup plus discret. Ce qui est plus ou moins lié au fait que ce soit plus rapide aussi, mais pas que. Les arquets métalliques.
uses externally powered legs of his own design. It's bionics technology, a product of the U.S. military's failed attempt to develop a powered exoskeleton. All the wearer has to do is apply a little force, and the actuators continue the movement in that direction. But his legs are unique. Instead of using a hydraulic mechanism, the actuators run off metallic archaea. That increases the actuator's reaction speed and also enables him to lock and release the joints at will. The legs are a nifty little gadget, but they have two clear weaknesses. First, they're dependent on external power, maybe because he built them knowing he couldn't leave his lab. There's no internal battery. That's why they won't work if they aren't plugged in. Second, and this is more than just a weakness, the legs are directly connected to his brains. Could be to minimize signal loss and the order's output to the legs and the drive response from them. Either way, Emmerich has used bolts to attach load-bearing parts directly to his fingers. Probably by
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Fractures and the like. But the end result is those legs and his body are fused together. And that appears to be how he's able to move them so precisely. But that also means that any shock to the legs would be delivered right to his bones by way of those bolts. The same is true if he encounters the corrosive metallic archaea. If the corrosive archaea ate into the exposed bolts, they'd reach the endoskeleton parts and eat through them too in the blink of an eye.
Complete.
The doctor's bones are full of holes to accommodate all the bolts. They're like sponges. If he were to lose the reinforcing parts, even the tiniest bit of force or weight would snap his bones. So when I dangled those corrosive metallic archaea in front of him, he realized straight away what would happen.
Complete.
Life wouldn't be worth living if he lost those legs of his. I'd bet that is what the doctor fears the most. I just helped him imagine what it would be like. Thanks to that, I got the information we needed without either of us getting hurt. You know how he is. He's probably already over the shock. The better you know your adversary, the easier it is for you to get information from them. And vice versa.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Quoi? Non mais... Quand même. C'est con, ils en ont réveillé 1 sur 2. Voilà. Donc il reste plus que les 2 connards rembourrés comme jamais. Et ce sera réglé. Hein?
You gotta extract him. He's coming too. Roger that.
Ouais, ça sert plus à rien de leur tirer dessus, copain. Hein.
Leave the
T'as
rest
plus de
to us.
ballon. Autre avantage du trou de verre. Tu veux pas aller l'électrocuter, toi, copain? Vas-y. Vas-y, mon cucu. Non, mon boubou. C'est un pompe ou c'est un fusil d'assaut, ton machin? Tu m'expliques, copain, là?
Guard post captured.
Mon boubouf.
Side ops list updated.
He's coming too.
Bon, tiens, je suis câlin. Quand même.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Allez, à la suivante. Ah, on a pas trop mal géré. Ça aurait pu être pire. L'avant de renseignement.
Please select a landing zone.
Tiens. Tiens. Alors il nous le met en rouge, mais en vrai l'hélico est suffisamment sur le bord. Il y a moyen que ça passe quand même. Ça se tente. Ça se tente, faut savoir vivre dangereusement.
You said that the nuke Skullface was trying to spread around the world were equipped with a failsafe. Something that could shut them down at will. His will.
Quite so. After all, he needed a guarantee that Empire wouldn't simply turn the weapons back on him.
So how can they be stopped?
The criticality trigger, that is, the detonator, is a complete black box design. Any attempt to dismantle it causes it to melt in seconds, using the corroding archaea. The design ensures that no detonation...
Compte faire le tour 20 fois de la ville avant de me poser ou ça se passe comment Qu'est-ce qui branle l'hélico sérieusement
Boss, come in. Boss! Boss!
L'hélico il fait la petite balade là, petite balade touristique, on visite le village, c'est rustique dis donc. Bon, juste poser ton cul, peut être bien aussi. Aïe, je vous jure.
Please select a landing zone.
Allez hop.
Deploying.
T'as le thé qui coule à moitié à côté du thermos, ça me saoule quand il fait ça. J'arrive pas à savoir pourquoi ça le fait. Mais bon. On n'est pas foutu partout. C'est le plus important. Du coup, la cassette. Arqué métallique, on en était là.
You said that the nuke Skullface was trying to spread around the world were equipped with a failsafe. Something that could shut them down at will. His will.
Quite so. After...
So how can they be stopped?
The criticality trigger. Any attempt to dismantle the design ensures that no detonation is possible unless it disengages the lock.
So he had a way to disengage it remotely.
Precisely. The client simply presses a button. At that moment, the detonator begins transmission with a surveillance satellite. The satellite reports to him how the client is trying to use the nuke. If he does not object, the lock is disengaged.
But if it's a risk to him in any way,
The detonator melts down. The same is true.
Boss, one of our staff has been captured by the enemy. He was on the staff in Mother Base 9 years back. Get our man out of there, boss. To say he's a critical VIP would be a massive understatement.
Who the hell would buy something?
The same is the detonator.
but if it's a risk to him,
The detonator melts down. The same is true if detonation does not occur within a preset time after the lock is disengaged. The nuke is rendered useless.
Who the hell would buy something with strings attached like that?
The client would never know until the moment they actually tried to use it. Most likely, he would have explained the time delay as the detonators needing time to activate. And he only intended to sell to technologically primitive groups in the first place.
let me guess. He'd claim it was defective and offer a replacement. Shadier than a used car salesman.
Skullface shakes your hand like a friend, using the other to control you like a puppet. This is how he works.
Prier de remonter, s'il te plaît.
Leave the rest to us. Extract him. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
This is yellow cake that Cypher was having the PF's transport. Before we met you, the boss... Truck crossing the savannah. Are there metallic archaea inside it?
Yes, the archaea metabolize uranium-235 to subsist. They must be stored inside yellow cake, or they cannot survive.
So those biological
You gotta extract him.
impurities were actually the real cargo.
Of course, they are deactivated, so they do not trigger a sudden enrichment. They are like baker's yeast. Yet, they do gradually enrich the uranium as they feed. I imagine you detected weapons-grade traces.
Yeah, we did.
And the malachite that was loaded on the truck had traces of uranium in it too.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Skullface was gonna sell do-it-yourself nuke kits. The uranium-enriching archaea complete with the user's manual. And the ores with the uranium could be sourced by the client or provided by Cypher.
Even the trace amounts buried in common ores can be enriched to weapons-grade uranium. by the metallic archaea. Proving that must have been the most important factor of the trials. That and the ability to successfully prevent detonation.
So if the amounts of uranium in the ores are low enough, they can get past any inspection. And you only need a tiny amount
He's
of...
coming too. Roger that.
No great challenge to smuggle that either. The first step towards saturating the world with nukes.
His plan. That was not my intention. My only goal in developing the metallic archaea was to save the Dene.
What made you think a tool for creating undetectable nuclear weapons would save your people?
After 70 years, the Dene reclaimed the Navajo nation from which we were banished. We bore all the hardships of poverty, but we were proud to live off the land we called our own. But in the moment the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, everything changed.
I don't get it.
The nuclear arms race between the US and the Soviet Union began with the end of the Second World War. Suddenly, there was a massive demand for uranium. And it was our ill fortune that the ground beneath the Navajo Nation was rich with uranium ore. The Black Ana government set up mine after mine, and many of the Dene worked them, never informed of any danger. Every day, they went to work with no protection. The slag was simply piled out in the open. When rain fell, uranium traces left behind would seep out, and when the ground dried, it was blown about as dust. Land and water were contaminated, irradiated. Many of us became sick and died. That pain lives on to this day.
I had no idea.
Wanting more than anything to revive the land my forebears left to me, I was delighted upon discovering microbes that eat uranium. If they could be domesticated, I believed we could rid our land of uranium.
Were you successful?
No. The research called for funding on a colossal scale. But nobody was willing to invest with no prospect of a return.
And that's when Skullface showed up.
Correct. I can save you and your people. We share the same will. That is what he said to me. And I believed him. Blagana forced me to abandon my uranium cleanup work and focus on nuclear weapons. And he held all the Dene hostage. Today, the uranium mines within the reservation are finally closing down. It is simply less expensive now to source uranium overseas.
New victims, different places.
But uranium is a tactical resource. To rely on a foreign country for it is a difficult decision to make. And he was in the perfect place to influence that decision.
He could have condemned your people to the mines forever.
The contamination comes not only from uranium. The fallout from the Nevada nuclear tests also settled on our lands. As if our fortune were not already bad enough, we are also downwinders. To save the Dene, I must complete my original research.
Snake. What took you so long? We'll talk, but not here.
Ah. Donc le mec a sauvé, c'était Hideo Kojima. Hop là.
Side ops list updated.
Okay, subject is in.
Extraction.
On a ramené Kojima à la base. Que voulez-vous? Il me semble qu'on le voit aussi dans Death Stranding, mais je suis pas sûr. J'ai un doute. Je suis con, je lance le truc maintenant alors qu'on est pas dans la mission encore. Attends, 2 secondes, toi. Le problème du déminage, c'est que c'est vachement court, on n'aura pas le temps d'écouter une cassette. On va mettre ça.
Select a landing zone. Deploying.
FOB. New weapon. Je crois qu'on a commencé qu'une seule mission en journée depuis le début du jeu.
Code talker. Haven't seen you eat a single thing since you got here. Let me guess. Photosynthesis?
Oh? What makes you say that?
Well, a long time ago, I knew someone with a similar ability.
Well, you are correct. Most of my body is covered with parasites. I supply them with water, and in return, I receive sugars they produce when exposed to light. It isn't just my skin either. The parasites also act as my eyes. They have replaced many of my internal organs as well. It is thanks to them that I live on after over a century.
How did you obtain them anyway? Through your research?
I would like to say as much, but there is more to it than that. Let me take you back 20 years. I had hit a dead end with my parasite research. Then I was approached by a foundation. They said they had a sample of an unusual strain of parasite.
Which foundation?
Apparently, they had links to ARPA. But that is all I learned. I was somewhat ignorant of the ways of the world. Just being able to study it was enough for me.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Go on.
Half in doubt, I visited them to discover the body of an old man. Well, to be precise, his partial remains. A collection of parts, you could say. The man had died in an explosion.
An old man, you say?
His flesh had not decomposed. In fact, the tissue's cells were still metabolizing. The parasite had infected, or should I say assimilated with the tissues, and was keeping them alive. I became obsessed with studying the body parts, foregoing food and even sleep. Every day was filled with new discoveries. The parasite's biology, internal anatomy, life cycle. But there was only so much I could learn.
That's the target.
And So I made a decision to truly know the parasites. I had to live with them.
So, you implanted them inside you from the dead man's flesh?
Correct. It was quite a gamble, whether or not they would adapt to me. But fortunately,
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
compatible with them. Or perhaps, through my many years of research, my immune system learned to tolerate them.
Were they that body's only parasite?
Yes. However, there was a separate specimen that supplied its host with adrenaline in response to pain, and yet another that could control insects at will through secreting heterogeneous pheromones. I wanted exposure to them, to take them into me, but my wishes were denied. Their records, though, provided clues that helped advance my research. Would you care to join me? A life spent never worrying about food is a most wonderful one.
He's coming too. Roger that.
But thanks. This has been helpful.
Voilà, donc là en fait il nous dit que les pouvoirs paranormaux de la Cobra Unit de MGS3 en fait sont dus à des parasites du même genre.
Subject on board.
Et du coup, celui qui s'est fait exploser... Si je dis pas de conneries, c'est The Pain, non? Il s'est fait exploser. Alors que par contre, celui qui marchait plus ou moins à la chlorophylle, à la photosynthèse dans le 3, c'était le vieux, dont j'ai plus le nom. Quoi le blaze du vieux déjà? The End. C'est The End. C'est The End le vieux.
He's coming too. Roger that.
The one that covers the parasite that lives on the surface of the skull's bodies is what gives them their power, similar to my children who live in my skin. I modified the parasites I isolated from the body of that old man, differentiating them with various abilities. One that can blend perfectly into its surroundings by exposing the pigments in its cells at will. Another that, by harboring multiple species of metallic archaea, can oxidize and reduce metal. Isolating the one that covers and transplanting it into an artificial medium should provide the same abilities as the skulls, but they can only subsist within a human body. Once
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
they will eventually die. Another thing, the weakness of the one that covers is desiccation. Their surface moisture loss is greater than ours. The reason they
You
give
got a minute? It's about the quarantine facility. We've more or less figured out what caused the mutation in the vocal cord parasites. It was the radiation from that scanner. And the one who installed it was Emmerich. I've added a tape recording of the interrogation. You should listen to it.
condenses around them. The reason they give off mist is to alleviate this by release the reason another thing, but they can only subsist another thing. The weakness of the one that covers is desiccation. Their surface moisture loss is greater than ours. The reason they give off mist is to alleviate this by releasing the salts inside them as microparticles. Water vapor condenses around them, appearing as mist. But this dries out the atmosphere until they cannot even produce mist. And once their supply of water from the host runs out, the parasites are in danger. They, along with their host, enter a form of suspended animation. However, a similar effect occurs if they come into contact with a large amount of water. Rain, for instance. The one that covers will temporarily abandon other processes in his eagerness to absorb the water. Pitijolone. Make the weather your ally.
Ok, donc back to mother base, il a dit le copain. Quoique non, ils ont dit qu'il y avait. Non, il a dit qu'il y avait une cassette d'interrogatoire, mais il a pas dit qu'il y avait une mission. Ah, en tous les cas, fallait revenir.
Side ops list updated.
Got a minute? It's about the quarantine facility. We've more or less figured out what caused the mutation in the vocal cord parasites. It was the radiation from that scanner. And the one who installed it was Emmerich. I've added a tape recording of the interrogation. You should listen to it.
Wait, what are you talking about? Just what do you plan to do?
Present the charges against you, and render an appropriate punishment.
You're gonna put me on trial?
Call it what you like.
What's the meaning of this?
Out of here, all of you. Back to your posts.
No, hang on. Huey has killed their comrades and interfered with their lives. They've had all they can take. Kill that son of a bitch! Kill her!
Stop! This is insane! You have no evidence whatsoever. You say you're an army free from government. You talk big about being a nation unto yourselves. But from the outside, you're just thugs, rebels, a militia, terrorists, an unhinged threat to society. You're nothing but a bunch of psychopaths.
So you're not with us?
No, I didn't.
I thought we were on the same side. That's too bad.
I didn't mean...
Men, you will have justice. But our organization, the boss's organization, is built on order and reason. There will be no lynch mob. So stand down for today. We will gather all the evidence of this man's crimes. And then he will be tried. Dismissed.
What do you think you're doing? Go ahead and execute me. It'll be murder in the eyes of the world. You've lost your minds. Don't you get it? You're seeing phantoms. Just look at that dog. No, you named him D-Dog, but it's obvious anyone could see that's a wolf because you're all a bunch of wild dogs. You wanted to believe he was too, to feel some connection, to fight your loneliness. You wanted something to cling to prove you deserve to be alive. You wanted to forget the death, your sins, so you'd cling on to dogs, or wolves, or even Big Boss. The boss is the same, isn't he? Every one of you is alone. That's why you suspect your own. I know, because I do the same. I'm one of you too. Alone. What you're doing is murder! Plain and simple! All you ever create is war! War and violence can never lead to peace!
Il manque pas de culot quand même. Hein. Neuf.
Please select a mission.
La 47. Et il manque toujours la 45 et la 46.
Please select a mission. Unit dispatched. Unit dispatched. Unit dispatched. Please select a mission. Please select a landing zone. Deploying.
There's something I've been wondering. Why are you called code talker? During World War II, the U.S. military used the languages of different tribes, including the Navajo, as codes, right? I know the term code talker was used to mean people sent to the battlefield to speak in those codes. Were you one of them?
Our mother tongue was indeed used for war. But I did not go. I was already over the conscription age. However, I was made to help craft the codes that were spoken. So in a wider sense, you could call me a code talker for that. Navajo is a complex language, and virtually no one outside the US speaks it. They must have thought it was the perfect language to use as a code.
Yeah, in the end, the Japanese never cracked it. The cipher is king in information warfare.
Of course, they didn't simply speak in Navajo. They created substitutions for words according to a code book, and then translated those into our language. Young Dene was sent to the front lines of the Pacific Theater as code talkers. To fight is an honor for the Dene. They were the pride of our people. But I cannot say this history brings me joy. Words are alive. When they are spoken, life is breathed into them. They become a part of the listener. Our words were transformed into lifeless ciphers and used for war. This, after the Black Ana spent generations
That's the target.
in the language.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I guess we shouldn't be calling you code talker, huh?
No, I do not mind. The reason Skullface called me code talker was because I also am responsible for coding language into the vocal cord parasites. I am the same as those young warriors, used for a cipher's sake. I must never forget that. The name, Code Talker, is a lesson carved into my being.
You said Skullface ordered you to weaponize the vocal cord parasites. But you also said he wasn't the reason.
And he wasn't. I was seduced by the parasites. That is a fact.
How? You mean from your curiosity as a scientist?
That I cannot deny. But there is more to it. The story goes back to the 19th century, to my earliest memory. One day, a man from the government visited our Hogan, our home. I cried as he yanked me from my mother's arms and took me away to an Indian boarding school. From that day forward, I became George. This was the name my teacher gave me. I was forced to give up my Diné name, forbidden from speaking anything but English. If we dared utter a word of filthy Navajo,
You gonna extract him?
Yeah, that was the U.S. government's education policy for Native Americans.
to erase our words was like erasing our people. Their education was tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Over time, the overt persecution of our language stopped. But to this day, it continues to be eaten away by the lingua franca, that is English. Many of the Diné outside the reservations can speak nothing else. And it isn't just our language. Across the world, minority languages are being destroyed by dominant languages. Many are on the verge of extinction.
Enter the vocal cord parasites.
Yes, I began thinking that minority languages needed some sort of deterrent against dominant languages.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
That their peoples and cultures would survive. It was then that I came across literature at the Foundation claiming that man acquired language thanks to a type of parasite. One that distinguishes between languages as a precursor to reproduction. If I could just resurrect it, make it more pathogenic, I would have my deterrent against English. But I failed to hide that aim from Skullface. He noticed. Yes.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Retaliate against the English language. Though never did I intend to actually use it as he planned. You know how the story ends. I was forced to study how to make the parasites compatible with all the world's languages. All but English.
However, he in fact...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
I will not be held prisoner by the man's phantom. The English strain must not be allowed to exist either.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Il résiste bien à l'endormissement, mine de rien, si tu tires pas la tête. Hein. C'est chaud, hein.
You gonna extract him?
C'est le dernier. C'est le dernier.
He's coming too.
Mine de rien, c'est quand même important ces cassettes, ne serait-ce que pour les parties historiques, comme ce qu'on a là. Le délire de l'éducation des Navarros et des Indiens d'Amérique de base, de manière générale plutôt. Qui sont pour le coup des faits réels.
Please select a landing zone. Heading to Central Africa.
Et dont personne ne parle. Enfin, en France, j'ai envie de dire, entre guillemets, c'est normal. On n'est pas spécialement concerné, quoi. Mais même aux States, je suis sûr que la grande majorité des Américains ne sont pas au courant de ces choses-là.
out, Skullface's plan is almost complete. At that point, I will no longer be of use to him. I must leave behind this record at least. A record of how the ancient vocal cord parasites became these abominable ethnic cleansing parasites. I believe he has two purposes for the ethnic cleansing parasites. The first, as their name suggests, is ethnic cleansing. This conflict between East and West that envelops the world will not last much longer. Once the Cold War ends, and the weight of America and the Soviet Union is lifted away, the ethnic conflicts they kept suppressed will all rise to the surface. It is not difficult to imagine that the radical sides will begin cleansing their adversaries. What if an ethnic cleansing parasite matching the language of the aggressors were to be unleashed? The aggressors would be washed off the earth. At the very least, the idea that retaliation could eradicate your people would
Boss, get down. The enemy sniper. Stay low and crawl along the ground. That's the target.
To cipher the organization, this is probably their main use. Man thinks in words, or rather, words are man's very means of thinking. If you erase the word representing some concept, the concept itself disappears from the world. Nishone means beautiful in Navajo, but the image that comes to mind when we say Nishone differs from the Black Ana's beautiful. An azure sky, a rolling landscape, lush greenery. The meaning we place in Nishone has its roots in Dene culture. If we lose the word Nishone, the images of our beautiful homeland would be washed away into oblivion along with it, just as Orwell indicated years ago. Cipher, being based in America, is pushing Englishization for this very reason. Suppose all 5 billion people on this planet come to read, speak, and think in English. Their wills could also be streamlined under English. Cipher's control would be all the
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
progress in leaps and bounds. The ethnic cleansing parasites would be a great aid in accomplishing this goal. There is no need to destroy every language besides English. All they need to do is weaken other dominant languages competing with it. Russian, Chinese, Arabic. If people know they risk their lives speaking such languages, they will flock to the lingua franca that is English. Cipher need not even focus attention on smaller languages. After all, they are already being eaten away by English. Business, education, film, commodities. English has permeated every area of global society. I can see this when I look at young Dene. Some of them have already lost their grasp of the Navajo language. It is said that over 2,000 languages of the world are facing extinction. This very moment, cultural concepts and forms of expression are disappearing forever. The spread of electronic networks gives greater meaning to Englishization. Networks have no national borders. By basing them on a single language, they can penetrate deeper into and between people. That basic point of unity provides the ideal environment for someone who aims to control people's wills. But how does this differ from building the Tower of Babel? The ethnic cleansing power.
Moi qui suis passionné de linguistique en plus, ce qu'il raconte, forcément, je ne peux que le comprendre et l'approuver. L'anglais est très clairement un énorme problème. Pas l'anglais en soi, c'est la domination de l'anglais par le soft power américain qui est problématique.
Please select a landing zone. Deploying.
The ethnic cleansing parasites attempt to rob man of his words. Such irony. It was the vocal cord parasites that gave words to him in the first place. Ancient man had no language, unable to produce complex sounds due to the structure of the throat. He could communicate only through simple vocalizations and gestures. Then the vocal cord parasites infected his larynx. Man's transition to walking upright did not gift him solely with intelligence, but also with his voice. At the time, the vocal cord parasites never harmed man. They merely took a small measure of nourishment. In fact, you could call it a symbiotic relationship. Some animal species use particular vocalization patterns to attract a female and reproduce. Songbirds, certain insects, and also the vocal cord parasites. The difference is
That's the target.
themselves
I remember him. He was off base during the attack 9 years ago. Bring him home, boss.
Mais ferme ta bouche.
on the human host vocal cords and the songbirds. Certainly the difference is that the parasites themselves did not produce sounds. Rather, they had their hosts, man, do it for them. Once secure on the human host vocal cords, a male vocal cord parasite caused the host to produce a certain sound pattern, something like a warble of a bird. Meanwhile, females parasitizing other host pharynxes need only wait. Upon hearing the sound pattern of an attractive mate, they would manipulate their hosts into making contact with the person it came from. The female traveled through his host's saliva to the other host's vocal cords, where the male was waiting and the pair copulated. We can only imagine how the female manipulated his host, but it was probably through smell. Smells traveled directly to the limbic system via the olfactory cilia in the nasal cavity. Volatile compounds released by the female would stimulate the limbic system, which controls instincts, making the host feel amorous. This kind of sexual selection naturally led to competition between the male parasites. Males that had their hosts produce sounds perceived by females as more attractive succeeded in copulating and producing offspring. Evolutionary traits caused by sexual selection are curious. The peacock's feathers, the mannequin's dance, the firefly's luminescence pattern. Even with courtship behaviors that are not advantageous to survival, those individuals that excel in them produce offspring, and it escalates with each generation. The same was true of the vocal cord parasites. Courtship vocalization rhythms and intonations became more sophisticated, and in order for man to produce such sounds, they had to alter his vocal organs by lowering the position of the larynx and developing resonating...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Pas fini la cassette par contre du coup.
Mother base.
Mais éventuellement on a une ciné.
Boss, you there? We have a problem. The staff have found out everything that Emmerich's been up to. They're right on the edge. I need you to intervene before things get out of control. Get back to Mother Base ASAP.
Nine years ago, this man acted as accomplice to the attack on Mother Base. He then provided support to Skullface. Conspiring with Eli, he repaired Sahelanthropus in secret. His research materials caused the leak at the quarantine facility, which in turn caused the Walbachia mutation, letting the parasites off their chains. We lost a lot of good men. He also stands accused of murdering one of his own family, hiding the body.
I haven't killed anyone. The rest is all wrong, too. The inspection was supposed to help everyone. I sacrificed myself for my companions just as much as any of you. Why won't you believe me?
The prosecution calls a witness. Strangelove's gravestone, haunted by her phantom.
It's just a machine.
Huey! Damn it, Huey! Open it now! Please! Let me out! Kill me!
It recorded it all. Everything. Everything you did living together.
How could a machine?
You forced your own son into the cockpit of a Metal Gear, a test subject.
How?
His mother had to hide him away, and for that you locked her in that coffin.
No! She did it herself! It was suicide! And even if I did, what right do you have?
There's more. We have you to tell us everything you've done, everything you've thought, all this time. 9 years ago, you agreed to the inspection in return for Cypher's guarantee that you'd be spared.
I thought it was real!
We've reviewed into everything else that's happened since you arrived here.
Please.
Guilty! All counts.
Kill him!
Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! We exist outside the law. What should we do, boss? Just give the order. We'll handle the rest.
Prepare a life raft. Big enough for one. Food and water, too.
Boss,
He's leaving.
he's responsible for all of this! Think of all the men! He didn't lose a damn thing! This is the enemy! And he's here on his knees!
Us? You are right, he is not one of us. But we are not responsible to judge an enemy. He leaves Mother Base, and that'll be the end of it.
Get back! Don't touch me! I'm innocent! You're the murderers! Snake! You should be in this boat! There'd have been no inspection if it weren't for your precious nuke! I risked my life trying to save you all! How can you do this? Am I the only sane one here? It's not my fault!
Look, you can't discard your phantoms forever, Doctor.
Son of a bitch will make it, you know. I can see it now. In no time, he'll be telling tales about the black-hearted Diamond Dogs. The Shining White Knight, blabbering on about our injustice, hiding behind his fool's idea of morality. And all the other fools will stand around, nodding with every word he says.
No. One day he'll see through the lies he's built up, realize what kind of man he really is. What goes around comes around. You can't run from yourself forever.
Mission list updated.
Otaku, qui est donc le surnom du fils de UA, donc Al, qu'on rencontre dans MGS1. Niveau recherche, qu'est-ce qu'on a à faire là, tout sympa.
Please specify a project.
Est-ce qu'on a un truc de l'hélico à faire? Yep. Ça va peut-être temps d'ailleurs. Le blindage toujours pas, hein. Ingénieur en ressources. On n'a pas ça. Ingénieur en ressources. Ok. Ok.
Please specify a project.
armes, on devrait pas avoir grand chose d'intéressant à faire sur les armes, honnêtement, sur celles qu'on utilise en tout cas normalement. Ouais, donc là il nous faudrait le spécialiste silencieux qu'on a toujours pas récupéré. Pas où il est. Pour ça il nous faudrait juste masse de... masse de ressources et de niveau quoi. Et celui-là il fait quoi? Tranquillisant à effet rapide. Ok. Ok. Nous ce qu'on a c'est ça, donc il n'y a pas d'amélioration. S4R. Canon long, portée améliorée. Ouais. Ouais. Donc la main, c'est la main de G-Outil, hein, très clairement. Ok, là. Tenue, ok, bon.
Development project has been added.
Un autre déploiement en jaune.
Please select a mission.
On va prendre l'installation pétrolière.
Unit dispatched.
Bah vas-y.
Unit dispatched.
Ah.
Please select a mission.
La vérité, l'homme qui vendit le monde, the man who sold the world. C'est la mission finale celle-là. Du coup avant de la lancer, on va juste regarder toutes les cassettes jaunes qui nous restent. Parce que c'est les plus importantes.
Open this thing! Huey! Damn it, Huey! Open it now! Please! Let me out! Kill me. Kill me!
If only I'd tried to get out sooner. Perhaps I'd have made it. Why didn't I stop the hatch from closing? Even if it meant losing an arm. Well, I guess I'll stay a while. My voice, it's so distant. But you can hear me, can't you, Joy? I know you can. You're recording all of this. Deep down, in some memory board he'll never find. Duplicating it burying it under heaps of meaningless code. Anyway, I guess I can say what needs to be said. I can still do that much. Talk to you. Even if I can't face you. Even if there's a heaven. Even if you're waiting there. I don't deserve to see you again. I don't deserve to love you. I signed up for Zero's plan. Even now that he's halfway to dead, his plan lives on, leeching away at the world. And it took your strength to make it happen. In using you, I put the world in his palm. Once and for all. Zero, or whoever it is who's taken its name. They found me after the Caribbean. They made me simulate his will, so that even after the body was gone, that will would keep the world turning the way they wanted. I had no choice. They dredged Lago Cosibolca, pulled up your phantom, forced me to revive and modify you. I thought I could bring you back, but in the end, I sold your will to him. Now this part is just one big shell. A husk. Your phantom's no longer here. As for me, everything I touch turns to ashes. I could never make anyone happy. And now I'll never see my son again. But at least Hal's free from his father's hands.
Caution, rain approaching.
Me. With child. Can you imagine? I wonder how you took the news. Were you jealous? I knew what I was doing. If I could pass your will onto a child I carried, my genes, your meme, a father would be irrelevant. If I did that, that child would be ours. I've been a fool. Pride, conceit, baseless theories. Of course, I couldn't see through the dream. The false you I created. I only wanted to pass your will on to the next generation. But Zero took it away. And now I haven't just lost you. I've lost my... Oh, Hal. Can you forgive the mother who couldn't protect you? The one who let them take it all away from us. Oh. There's still hope. You, the one he took away. He'll never break your will. The will to make this world the way you saw it could be. I buried code, just to be sure. Inside of you, there is an egg. And when someone finds it, when they crack it, there'll be nothing left to stop you. The world you envisioned will become a reality. Joy. I know you can hear me. You do remember my voice, don't you? Please, take care of our son. Hal, don't ever be afraid. Whatever happens up there, she'll be watching over you. The system, the framework for your world will protect you. You don't need me. You just need to be strong enough for the both of us. You. Here at the end, I think I hear your pulse.
Why activate Sahelanthropus in Afghanistan? This is how Skullface wanted things to play out. The Soviet Union secretly develops a new type of nuclear weapon and successfully deploys it in Afghanistan. Revealing the existence of Sahelanthropus results in a return to the glory days of the Cold War. The threat it poses reignites the nuclear arms race between the world's major powers. The demand for nuclear weapons increases around the globe. What if you then introduced a nuclear weapon anyone could get their hands on? Non-nuclear nations, militant groups of all shapes and sizes, they'd all jump at the chance. Sahelanthropus was a marketing tool to sell nukes all around the world. But I think it's safe to say that plan was stamped out before it got up and running. The world's intelligence agencies never did turn up anything conclusive on it. After all, Sahelanthropus vanished before word could spread. Everything that's happened is already a fading memory, never to join the pages of history.
Clouds approaching.
Except for Cypher. Cypher won't forget. They'll already be working on something, quietly beneath the surface. They'll use the pieces of data scraped together from this incident to build their own bipedal weapon. It'll take them a long time to complete it, but for now, the Greed sector have found their new life's work. We'll have to be ready too. Skullface, real name unknown. Born in Hungary, more specifically northern Transylvania after it reverted to Hungary from Romania. While he was young, the country allied with Germany as part of the Axis powers, but later during the war, it came under Soviet occupation. The Hungarians struggled for independence, but the Soviets came down. Hard. Just like he said, time and again the country was ruled by a foreign tongue. When he was a young boy, he lost his native language, the bedrock for any developing child. His country, his family, his face, his identity, everything was stolen from him. All he had left was his skull. Skullface first tried his hand at espionage during all the chaos from the war. Agents, military officials, and soldiers who operated out of Hungary during the war vanished over the course of several months. This Soviet spy hunt rocked the counter-intel world. Mysterious fatal illnesses, accidental deaths, drownings, people having strokes behind closed doors. Just like Stalin, no one knew who was behind it. But all you need to do was look for who had the motive. They were all taken out by a man without a face. And now we've got an idea of how he did it too. He'd gotten revenge for his people, but he wasn't finished. Skullface defected to the West, eventually ended up with the SAS. That's where he met Zero. It's possible he began planning this whole thing back then. It's hard to say. In any case, Zero made him his XO. He always did have a thing for oddballs. But this one was set to lead a unit no one else would know about. When Zero created Fox, he also formed XOF as a support team. An unconventional special forces unit designed to support Fox, make it stronger, with Skullface given the orders. Zero never even told the boss about it, nor the CIA, naturally. If Fox was Zero's silver bullet, XOF was the recoil when he pulled the trigger. Just like Newton's third law. While you were with Fox, Skullface was operating behind the scenes. Sometimes as your backup, sometimes as a mole or a scout, sometimes as your cleanup crew. Fox's tail, making sure the mission succeeded and that you survived. We only have his word to go on, but Skullface's goal was revenge against those who'd use language to subjugate people. Those corrupting a people's identity by forcing a new tongue on them. Those using the power of language to control information. Naturally, that set his sights on Zero. To Zero, English was simply the most convenient code. But to Skullface, English was a parasite. And by eradicating it, he'd stop the world from being eaten away. If that didn't work, he was ready to see the world scorched by nuclear fire. To save language, culture, and race from annihilation, he was willing to overstep the hands of the doomsday clock. That is, of course, if you believe anything he had to say.
Boss, we gave Ralph, that kid who died in the accident, a burial at sea. The man in charge of that facility has been severely punished. But ever since, the kids have been acting strange. It's obvious they've lost their trust in adults. I was getting reports of them ignoring the staff, or getting insolent, and even violent. And a few days later, several of the kids did a disappearing act. They snuck into choppers and shipping containers and got off base. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. These kids were born in a war zone and forced to grow up as war fighters. If they're left alone, war is how they'll die.
But I thought we showed them there are other reasons to live. I never liked having children on Mother Base. But the thought of them going back to the battlefield and picking up their old lifestyle is something I can't stomach. It makes me think of Chico, 9 years ago. We have to get those kids back. Hell, they know too much about our operation. I never expected even the kids to betray us. Snake, you remember the White Mamba? Of course, he's been going by Eli since we brought him on base. He was the leader of the child soldier unit we took out of that village and into our protection. Well, according to the kids you brought back here, all the escapees were especially close to Eli. There's reason to suspect he's behind all 6 escapes. We've already detained him. I'll be questioning him shortly.
Wait. You'll be?
Ocelot.
You're incapable of taking an impartial stance with those kids. Question them all you want. It'll get you nowhere.
Ocelot, you get too many kicks from your art of interrogation.
It's not a matter of art. It's about quick, minimal strokes of psychological warfare. That's what gets the answers. And it's the best way to keep both questioner and subject safe. The risks only increase the more an interrogation drags on. At that point, it causes as much pain to the inflictor as the inflicted.
Like I said, too many kicks.
What I'm trying to tell you is we need quick results. Otherwise, it'll be too little, too late.
I know that.
And besides, I know the subject. I won't go overboard with a kid.
Forget it. You're not needed. Snake, we'll want to question the other kids too. Be sure to bring them all back. Snake, about the escaped children. Eli confessed. The way he tells it, they wanted to go back to the battlefield. Don't rob them of their freedom, he said. If you bring them all back, there will be consequences. Next, he'll be asking for our surrender.
Consequences? What consequences?
No idea. That's all I have for now.
You're too attached to those kids. Stop protecting Eli.
Listen to yourself.
Let me question him, and we'll get some real answers.
Not necessary. I'll report as and when.
Boss, we found weapons in the children's section of the living quarters. As you know, weapons are strictly off limits. We've got some rule breakers. The weapons we found were handmade. Blades ground out of knives and forks, a couple of bow guns built out of scrap, and explosives made using detergents. And get this, the explosives were tightly packed with nails. The kids put the blame on, you guessed it, Eli. I guess that's what he meant by consequences.
I questioned him about it, but this time he claimed they want to be put out on missions. Send us to the battlefield, he says.
Miller, enough is enough. You've protected him too much already. It's my turn to question him.
Protected?
What Eli's doing is issuing a threat. Comply with my demands or I'll respond with force. But it'll be war at this rate. Forks and soap aren't gonna kill us, but some of them will end up dead. Is that what you want? Now, I hate to say it, but they want to be on the battlefield. It's time you gave up this fantasy.
Eli, he said they'd rise up against us if we bring the last kid back.
There, you see? Ignore his demands. Don't let him return to quarters. That attitude is contagious. We'd lose control over them for good.
For the time being, we've confiscated those handmade weapons. We're bumping up security and the number of psychiatric counselors. As for Eli,
he needs some very special care.
You mean solitary?
Well, we can't leave him in contact with the other kids. If you won't do it, I will. Boss, keep working on extracting those kids.
The kids you brought back to base have laid out the situation. They all escaped to each of their home villages, or were trying to get home, and lost their way. Not that homesickness is gonna explain everything we've seen.
Each of their home villages? They were trying to raise troops for the rebellion.
You really think these kids have an armed uprising in them?
You read the report of the security team member who had a rock thrown at him. There'll be a riot if we don't do something. And Miller, this is because you didn't act fast enough.
Fine. I'll admit you were right this time.
Seal off the kids' quarters from outside contact before it's too late.
All right.
Eli said his rebellion would start when the last kid is brought back, right? You better be ready to meet him head on if it really happens.
Yeah.
You should have left it to me in the first place.
Boss, they're just kids. We have a responsibility to see that those kids make it. It's not about feeling protective or the pros and cons. I hate kids. That's exactly what I heard from the people who raised me. People who abandoned me, more like. That's the spark that kept me going, you know? I wanted to show those adults what I was made of. Wanted to get back at them one day. But before I knew it, I was all grown up. Never saw it coming. All of a sudden, people treated me as an adult. Some adult I turned out to be. But I feel like if my life had been different, if the adults I knew had been different, I could have grown up better. Yeah, that's it, all right. I wanted to use those kids to test that theory. That's all this was. From their point of view, I'm no different from the assholes who gave me a hard time. When this is all blown over, I'll talk it out with them. If that's still possible. Boss, there are still kids out there. Bring them back safe.
Boss, it's me. Eli's revealed what he wants. He wants to speak with you. With Big Boss. He just said, bring my father here. Eli's too smart for his own good. No way to tell what he's thinking. All we know for sure is his men are important to him. That means we can use the escaped kids as leverage in any negotiation. Once you've brought the last one back, I'll interrogate him. If the kids do rise up, we'll meet them full force. End of story. I didn't want things to turn out like this. We could have prevented it, but it's too late now. If Eli means to take this all the way, he's gonna force us to do the same. Boss, go get that last kid. You know, when you brought back all the child soldiers who escaped, Eli knew they'd returned. Needless to say, nobody said a word to him. I guess they got a message to him somehow. Eli wasn't put in a corner in timeout. He was locked up in that room, completely cut off from the outside world. Then how'd he find out? It's only one possibility I can think of. The Soviet Union has been researching military applications for psi phenomena. Psi? Things like psychokinesis and ESP, extrasensory perception. You mean moving objects without touching them? Knowing what card somebody's holding up? Psychic powers? Come on. I thought that was just another bunch of disinformation aimed at the West. Just bear with me a second. One type of ESP is telepathy. It's the ability to know another person's thoughts through non-verbal means. You're saying Eli read our minds? It's the only idea that doesn't involve someone getting to him. Ocelot. Look, psi research isn't some hocus pocus. It's all evidence-based, scientific... There's gotta be another explanation. Maybe one of the kids stuck a note to your back. I hope that's the case. But I am convinced that they have, or Eli has, a connection to some force we have yet to identify. You better watch yourself, boss. How am I supposed to do that? If he is depending on something for help, well, that's his Achilles heel. If you can figure out what that something is, you might be able to use it against him. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, and the medical team is looking after the kids left on Mother Base. For the moment, they don't seem too panicked. But boss, get this. Eli got those kids to plot their armed uprising as a diversion. Also, he could steal Sahelanthropus and escape. That brat got us good. Set us up and knocked us down. And then there's that mystery kid who was with Eli. With those two working together, I'd say things won't be over for a long time yet.
Ok, donc il nous reste 3, 4 cassettes à lire encore, avant de passer à la mission. Je vais faire une toute petite pause toilette. Je reviens de suite. Me revoilà.
We finished decoding the informant's report. That floating kid we've run into a few times now. Looks like he was a test subject in clinical experiments. The Soviets called him the Third Boy. The Third Boy was brought to a lab on the outskirts of Moscow from Czechoslovakia, after which he was due to be sent to a research center in Leningrad, then Siberia, and finally an academic town in Novosibirsk. It doesn't appear that the researchers witnessed the talents we've seen from him, but nevertheless he was quite the popular subject. His latent cognitive abilities suddenly awoke en route to Moscow. According to the report, the Third Boy was easily influenced by other individuals' biofields. Evil thoughts, in particular. They affected his mind like a virus. Extreme anger or resentment, motives for revenge, in other words. Now, during the transport flight to Moscow, the boy was exposed to a powerful mental energy field coming from a certain individual. Ever since, being conscious of his powers, he's become a sort of energy generator. What's unique about him is the way his acute telepathic abilities get taken over by another person's will. The boy began to physically parasitize individuals experiencing extreme anger and codify the host's desires. This includes amplifying the host's natural strengths. Or, in accordance with the host's desires, he can also implant program code in another individual, making them a puppet, essentially. Human neural synapses transmit weak electrical currents between neurons. These electrical currents, though at a level difficult to observe, warp the magnetic field outside the body. The Third Boy is able to pick up these weak fluctuations. Contrary to psychotronics, which involves controlling the human mind, his abilities as a receptor are too high. The emotions he picks up from another individual are amplified and unleashed into his body as they recur in his brain. They turn into microwaves, which then affect the physical world, triggering paranormal phenomena like the spontaneous combustion of organic matter or psychokinesis, moving an object without touching it. There's one other thing. While he's parasitizing a host, the boy's ego gets shut away, allowing the will of the host to take control of his powers, like some annoying static drowning out your own voice. That means he isn't responsible for what's been happening. Somebody's extreme anger has manifested through the Third Boy's powers in ways none of us could have predicted, which would mean this was going on somewhere around us. Looking back on it, a lot of things make sense now. The man on fire, Sahelanthropus, they both came to life thanks to the Third Boy's powers. Everything has been happening through him as a catalyst. We first saw him in the hospital on Cyprus. The boy parasitizing the man on fire's desire for revenge gave him his new abilities in return. He next appeared at the Hamid Fighters Fort where the honeybee was hidden. There, the boy parasitized Skullface's vengeful mind. He controlled Sahelanthropus, making it do whatever Skullface wanted. Same goes for when we extracted Emmerich onto the chopper. When he appeared at the Devil's House in Central Africa, Skullface's will controlled the man on fire via the Third Boy's powers. Everything is clear up to this point. But even the informant couldn't pinpoint who the host was in the cave within Serac power plant. Sahelanthropus suddenly became active, then crushed not only the man on fire, but Skullface as well. Surely neither of them could have been the host. Who else was at that location and bore anger more extreme than either of them? Whose will was controlling Sahelanthropus? According to the report, emotions transmitted in children's brains affect the surrounding magnetic field more strongly. Cerebral nerves are covered with insulation called myelin sheaths to increase impulse speed. The reason for this leakage has to do with the fact that children's myelin sheaths are still developing. So, how many children do you remember being there? Children with a burning desire for revenge and bearing a grudge against you. I can think of only one. Eli. We don't know what kind of life he's had, but the resentment he's shown toward adults is nothing short of extraordinary. The Third Boy resonated with Eli's mind. And that means Eli bore the strongest animosity of all individuals within the boy's reception range, estimated to be a 3-mile radius, beating out even Volgan and Skullface. The third boy has probably remained hooked on Eli's anger since. You remember at the Devil's House, the third boy showed an interest in Shabani? That must have been his ego making a rare appearance. He may possess abilities far beyond anyone else in the world, but he's still a kid. Maybe them both being kids was enough to bring them together. And if so, maybe with Eli, he isn't feeding off him, but acting in symbiosis with him. So what kick-started the third boy's powers? If we look at the location and time that his plane went down, we can make a pretty good guess. When the plane experienced the first anomaly, it gave an accurate report of its position to a control tower, due north of the Black Sea, 125 miles east of Kiev. Dead south on the Black Sea is Cyprus's Green Line. So the plane's position was directly north of the hospital where you'd been asleep for 9 years. And this anomaly was reported at exactly the same time that you woke up. The plane was enveloped in flame from the inside out. The fuselage burnt to ashes. There were no survivors, at least not publicly admitted. Your thoughts formed a synchronicity with the boy's psyche and were amplified inside his brain. That would have been more than enough to trigger his abilities. Your rage was like a big bang in his head, blowing the lid off his powers. The boy was then secretly moved to the lab outside of Moscow where Volgan was comatose. There, Volgan's thoughts resonated with the boy and he was awakened. Volgan became the man on fire, hell-bent on getting revenge on you. His instincts led him straight to you. Skullface knew Volgan from Operation Snake Eater, or perhaps from even before. Monitoring this pair of extraordinaries, he discovered the hospital and sent his assassin and XOF. Skullface was probably watching the situation from close by. Then, realizing how useful these two test subjects could be, he approached them. Reacting to Skullface's thirst for revenge, this time the boy let Skullface's will control Volgan. Volgan, at times driven by personal revenge, at times through Skullface's will, kept on moving, though his body was little more than dead meat. Perhaps there were moments where even your thoughts affected him as well. But without the boy's power, it was like the plug had been pulled from the socket. Everything was powered by anger, malice, revenge. This is how the end of the report sums things up. Both the third boy and the man on fire were originally test subjects of paranormal research for military applications, like telekinetically controlling the leader of an enemy nation and making him launch a nuke, or stopping the heart of someone on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall, experimenting with latent human abilities. They were used as tools of the Cold War. The boy's only crime was being born with unique gifts. But he was sacrificed on the altar of war. His life reduced to slavery under other people's wills. Turned into a living weapon with no will of his own. And eventually the only emotion he could feel must have been the desire to get revenge for the hand he'd been dealt. Boss, it's you that awakened the boy's powers. But there's more to it than that. I guess the anger emanating from you was something he could truly relate to.
Hours after exposure to the blood of a symptomatic colleague, I found myself making my way up the stairs to this room. And I am not alone. Everyone who's infected, we've all come up here wanting to get outside. I know full well I mustn't leave, given the possibility I'm infected. Yet, I can't contain this urge I feel inside me, like the alcoholic who tries to make any excuse for one more drink. Every step I took up those stairs filled me with this sense of bliss. I still have all my wits about me. It took no time at all to rewire the electronic lock and open the emergency exit. Then, just as I was about to set foot outside, I finally realized what was going on. This desire for freedom is not my own, but that of the vocal cord parasites inside me. They want the ravens to feed on us, pecking us to death, attracted by these sweet secretions. They have mutated to facilitate this. The sweet smell is powerful enough to attract even a species with such a weak nose. So, before the parasites take complete control, I must. Most of the staff in here are already infected. At least, everyone I've looked at is. Infection with this parasite causes a high fever in the pharynx. I have modified a pair of night vision goggles to react only to this temperature range. With these goggles, you can identify who is infected. Other infected will, like me, feel compelled to make it outside. If the ravens get their meal, they'll head for land next. That cannot be allowed to happen.
Et c'était la dernière cassette jaune, en tout cas pour l'instant. Donc on va pouvoir passer à la dernière mission de l'histoire.
Please select a mission.
La 46. Vérité, l'homme qui vendit le monde.
Don't you die on me, damn it! He's dropping! Intubate, now! Cardiac arrest, he's in BFib! Clear! No response, hit him again! Clear! How's he doing?
Well, he stabilized, but it took too long. He's in a coma.
What about him?
He took some shrapnel to the head.
His friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world.
Κοίταξέ με.
V has come to.
V has come too.
Ακούεις με? Ακούεις με? Can you hear me? Are you having difficulty speaking? Can you move your head? Just nod if you can hear me. Look up, please. Very good. Please try to relax. There is plenty of time. I need to tell you something. Please listen and try not to panic. You've been in a coma for quite some time. Yes, I know. You would like to know how long. I'm afraid it's been 9 years. Damn it! Nosocoma! 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 Nels! Calm down. Calm down. Try not to panic. Try not to panic. Now. You'll be all right. Just rest.
How do you feel?
It's been 1 week since you came to. Now, let's try getting you out of that bed. Nurse. Don't worry. You've lost some strength, but we've been maintaining your muscle mass through massages, CPM therapy, and EMS. Now, I need to explain something to you, but you mustn't be alarmed. 9 years ago, you were injured in an explosion. Upon examination, we discovered 108 foreign bodies embedded within you. In addition to shrapnel, we also found fragments of human bone and human teeth. Most of it was removed, but some of the fragments still remain. They are located near your heart and in your skull. Look at this. The fragments are lodged deep within your cerebral cortex. We couldn't give you an MRI, the metal, you see. But even if we were to extract it, you would most likely suffer a brain hemorrhage. Mental and physical impairment are unavoidable. However, your current status is not life-threatening. One more thing. This X-ray is of your upper body. You better look now. Best to understand your situation sooner than later. I know it's difficult, but please look down. It's best to see with your own eyes. Be brave. Nosokoma, Grigor! Try to calm down! Calm down! Please! Calm down! It's gonna be okay! Yes, yes! Calm down! Yes. Yes. Κάποιος ήδη γνωρίζει ότι έχει ξυπνήσει. Διατρέχει μεγάλο κίνδυνο. Πρέπει να ενεργήσουμε άμεσα. Φοβάστε μια εγχείρηση. Το πιστεύω. It's true. There are those who wish you would never woken up. You should be dead, but you're not. The wheels are in motion. Your enemies are everywhere. We must alter your appearance immediately. Otherwise, I fear you won't leave this place alive. It's a wide open world up there, so there's something we need to take care of first. This is you, as you've lived until this day. I'm going to change your appearance. We have no other choice. Very good. Now, let's remove these bandages. Your face has healed nicely. To tell you the truth, these bandages were more for your protection, to hide you from those who want you dead. As of today, your name is Ahab. Forget everything. Your name, your past. Everything feels all right?
Patient in the next bed saw my face. Of course, consider it done.
Okay, have time to go. What happened to the woman? The woman? We gave her a light. She took the short way down. Who are you? Who am I? You're talking to yourself. Been watching over you for 9 years. You can call me Ishmael. What the hell is going on? Well, the good news is, you're in the land of the living. Bad news? The whole world wants you dead. On your feet, soldier. The whole place is coming down. Need a little pick-me-up? Okay. Here. Nothing like a little digoxin to get you back in the game. Come on!
Et donc vous l'aurez compris, on va revivre les événements de la toute première mission, mais ce coup-ci avec les vrais événements. Et du coup, salut Zazu! Hello! Comment vas-tu? On est sur la dernière mission du jeu, la mission 46. Comme son nom l'indique, nous offre la vérité sur les événements. Écoute, moi ça va très bien. Hein. Mis à part le fait que demain c'est la reprise du travail, quoi, mais à part ça, ça va très bien. Je suis content, j'ai repris le world building depuis la semaine dernière. Et j'ai pas mal développé d'idées dans les 3 derniers jours là. Je suis content d'avancer là-dessus. Ça faisait longtemps que j'avais pas travaillé là-dessus. Et j'avais un peu peur un peu à la ramasse et que ça n'avance pas. Mais ça commence bien. Ou ça recommence bien. Plutôt.
Something's coming.
Ah, son bras, à chaque fois, ça me fait tellement mal. Ça me fait un peu penser à Harry Potter 2, quand Harry se fait péter le bras par un cognard et que t'as Gilderoy Lockhart qui lui lance un sort pour lui réparer le bras et à la place il lui enlève l'os de l'avant-bras. Et du coup il a le bras tout flasque. Ça me fait vraiment cet effet là. Sauf que dans Harry Potter ça fait un peu comique alors que là ça fait vraiment mal. Hein.
Hold up, let's fix this. Next time, do it yourself. It's always good to try and mend your injuries while hiding from the enemy. Over there. Let's go.
Ouais c'est ça, c'est à la fin du match de Quidditch. J'ai la scène très bien en tête parce que je suis en train de me les remater en ce moment donc... Ah ouais, t'as le cognard qui déglingue le bras d'Harry. Dans la foulée, avec le bras cassé, il récupère le vif d'or, il se casse la gueule au ras du sol. Et il y a tout le monde qui vient le voir en mode ouais ça va ou pas. T'as Gilderoy qui veut lui réparer le bras et au lieu de le réparer, il le vire l'os.
Help me, please.
Let's move.
Help me! I don't want to die!
Don't get caught in those searchlights. Here they come, hurry.
Pardon.
Don't you die on me.
Je crois que ça m'est jamais arrivé de mourir dans cette mission. Peut-être la toute première fois que j'ai joué au jeu, peut-être éventuellement. Mais du coup, sur la mission de base, quoi, la numéro 1, pas sur la 46.
Press the stance button to stand up.
Trop chelou cette histoire.
Don't get caught in those searchlights. Here they come, hurry. Now! Move! Go! This way.
Πάμε γρήγορα. Come on.
Σας παρακαλώ, τι συμβαίνει. Δεν βλέπω τίποτα.
Δεν μιλάει κανένας, θα μας σκοτώσουνε.
Ναι, τον είδα πριν λίγο.
What's happening out there?
It's all right. We'll be okay.
I can't see what's happening. Do you hear that? What's going on out there?
Hey! Oh, πρόσεχε!
Hey!
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 I can't see what's...
What is that? What's happening out there? Does anybody know?
Hey!
We should be okay. Do you hear them coming? Oh my lord.
Where are they?
J'ai beau la refaire, elle est toujours aussi dingue cette mission. Elle est très lente, ce qui fait qu'elle est pas forcément agréable à revivre. Mais niveau réel, c'est assez dingue. Hein.
Anything? Negative. He came in here. Keep looking.
This way. This way. We're sitting ducks. Blend in with the bodies. Get down on your stomach and crawl. If you move, we're done for. Play dead. Freeze. Don't move. Hold on. You better stop and treat that injury.
Le temps que j'ai pris à comprendre le sens de ton message. Un reboot HP en série est prévu d'ici 2 ans. Le temps que j'ai pris à comprendre que HP c'était Harry Potter, c'est assez dingue. Et du coup j'avais entendu parler de ça, d'un reboot en série de Harry Potter. Faut vraiment avoir aucune imagination et juste vouloir de la thune pour avoir une idée pareille, mais bon. Soit. Ils savent que ça va marcher, hein, donc bon. Pourquoi se priver?
Know how to shoot a gun? Hold down the aim button to aim. Then press the attack button to fire. Destroy it.
Au début HP j'étais en mode hôpital psychiatrique, quel est le rapport avec les hôpitaux psychiatriques Bon il y a une série sur des hôpitaux psychiatriques. Je comprenais pas trop. Et du coup je me suis rappelé qu'on avait parlé d'Harry Potter juste avant. Je me suis dit ah, c'est peut-être Harry Potter. Parce que vu que le jeu se passe dans un hôpital, je me disais...
I'll run interference.
Ah, il y a tellement de personnes qui appellent HP par le nom complet comme ça.
Get in!
This way, boss. Hurry. Use that bike. It's tuned up and ready to go. I'll handle the rest. Here. That's your name as of today. You best change your face, too. Now this one, he'll take your place. From here on, he's Snake. He believes it, too.
My very own Phantom, huh?
Boss, the whole world wants your head. Don't worry, he can handle it. Move now, quickly.
Aren't you forgetting something? We'll meet again.
Right.
time for anesthetic. We have to open her now. Boss.
Now do you remember who you are? What you were meant to do? I cheated death thanks to you. And thanks to you, I've left my mark. You have too. You've written your own history. You're your own man. I'm Big Boss. And you are too. No. He's the two of us together. Where we are today, we built it. This story, this legend, it's ours. We can change the world and with it the future. I am you and you are me. Carry that with you wherever you go. Thank you, my friend. From here on out, your big boss.
Et voilà, c'est une fin de jeu. Bon, j'avais quand même pas mal spoilé au fur et à mesure les événements, donc il n'y a rien de si surprenant si vous avez suivi tout le let's play sur ce qui vient d'arriver, mais quand vous faites le jeu la première fois et que vous arrivez à cette mission là, vous buguez quoi. C'est là que vous comprenez que vous n'êtes pas Big Boss, que vous êtes Venom Snake. Qui était en fait la personne qu'on appelle le médic, qui était le médecin de bord réservé à Big Boss, qui l'a protégé pendant l'explosion de l'hélico, et qui a du coup été opéré pour prendre sa tronche et prendre sa place en fait. Pendant que Big Boss, lui, partait de son côté pour réaliser son projet Outer Heaven. En fait, nous ne sommes qu'une diversion. Qui lui donne la cassette, je pense pas qu'on ait l'info, mais la chose la plus évidente, c'est que c'est au slot. Ça doit être au slot, parce que c'est le seul à être au courant que notre personnage n'est pas Big Boss. Par Big Boss lui-même. Ou on peut imaginer que Big Boss à un moment envoie la cassette à Venom Snake. Je sais pas s'il y a une vérité là-dessus, genre s'il y a un endroit où c'est écrit, si on a l'info ou pas. Comment il s'est mis en tête d'être Big Boss? Déjà, un des éléments qui aide à ça, c'est le fragment d'obus qui s'est pris dans la tronche, qui a endommagé son cerveau. donc a dû le rendre plutôt malléable. La façon dont les médecins, etc. l'ont traité dès le début, plus comment après Ocelot direct le traite, etc. Enfin... Mais en fait, ça reste assez flou. En tout cas pour moi, je sais pas s'il y a, encore une fois, s'il y a une vérité là-dessus, mais si en fait Venom Snake sait depuis le début qu'il est pas vraiment Big Boss, en fait, à quel moment est-ce que le Venom Snake se rend compte qu'il n'est pas Big Boss? Simplement. Et même comment il le vit une fois qu'il se rend compte, on n'arrive pas trop à savoir non plus, quoi. Est-ce qu'il le prend bien? Est-ce qu'il le prend mal? Pas évident. Faudrait que je relise le bouquin de 3rd Edition sur la série Metal Gear. Pour moi, le moment qui peut le mener à commencer à douter, c'est le moment où on est convaincu que Eli est un des clones de Big Boss, parce que c'est vrai, et que le test ADN revient complètement négatif. Autant pour le joueur que pour Venom Snake, ça doit être le premier truc qui met la puce à l'oreille. Qu'il accepte sa mission, ça c'est un... Ouais, c'est un fait. Ça c'est... De par ses actes, de toute façon, il le fait. Plus son petit sourire narquois en mode ouais, je suis aussi Big Boss. Et en fait, un autre élément qui est important, que t'as peut-être pas remarqué sur la ciné, c'est qu'en fait... bon, on voit pas que Venom Snake, on voit Big Boss aussi. Dans la cinématique avec le miroir. Mais on voit pas que le Venom Snake de base. On voit aussi ce qu'on appelle le Demon Snake, qui est la version de Venom Snake qui se comporte comme une sombre merde et qui du coup a la corne qui ressort. L'image alterne entre le Venom Snake, Demon Snake et Big Boss. Donc, une façon de voir le brisage de miroir, c'est... un peu comme une forme de rébellion presque, en mode jusque là j'ai agi en tant que Big Boss pour te protéger le cul, même sans le savoir, hein. Et à partir de moment j'agirai en tant que Big Boss pour mes propres intérêts, quoi. Square Enix, qu'est-ce qu'il fout là? Référence à Gonagai. Bah, Venom Snake, il a été introduit dans Metal Gear Solid 5 en fait. Il n'a aucune existence techniquement en dehors de MGS5. Mais il y avait déjà une incohérence en fait dans les deux premiers Metal Gear, donc Metal Gear 1 et Metal Gear 2. Et je reprécise Metal Gear 1 et Metal Gear 2, pas Metal Gear Solid 1 et 2. Parce que tu tues deux fois Big Boss dans Metal Gear 1 et 2. Donc ça expliquerait pourquoi tu tues deux Big Boss. Parce qu'en fait, tu tues le vrai Big Boss et Venom Snake.
What was it all for? If the boss has some plan, what is it?
The real big boss is working separately from us to create his new nation.
New nation?
A military nation above and apart from all. The true outer heaven. Something created to maintain world balance. Independent of the struggles for supremacy, for personal profit, the cycles of revenge between countries. It'll be an army, all right, but more. Big Boss is building a nation. But until it's complete, we support the other Big Boss. The Phantom who carries on his legend, his meme. That is Big Boss's plan.
So that's the way it is. 9 years ago, I thought everything had been taken from me. But now I really have lost it all. The boss, and the future we were building together.
One day, the age of Big Boss's sons will arrive. They'll likely want to settle the score with him. We have to shape that age. We'll each have roles to play. Building the foundation for a revolution led by both Big Bosses, the True One and the Phantom.
No. Big Boss can go to hell. I'll make the Phantom and his son stronger to send him there. For that, I'll keep playing my role.
You know, sooner or later there will be only one boss. There's only room for one boss. His sons are fated to face each other someday too. If the day ever comes that you go back to Cypher, I'll aid the other son. And then you and I will be enemies too. One of us will have to kill the other.
Fine by me. I'll be ready for the new age. Until then, We'd better get used to coexisting.
Side ops list updated.